Hello and welcome. Today we are going to go ahead and take a look at the Taiyo Escort. So, escort ships are all designed for semi-military use. You can go out and escort any merchant caravans or merchant fleets going from various points in these settled systems. And the idea is just you want something that will prevent pirates from trying to go ahead and take your other ships. So for this, we need something that's got enough punch that it can take out other ships in space combat, and then ideally also have some boarding crew in case we need to retake a ship that got boarded. Um, so escort ships are allowed to be class A, B, or C. It's just whatever you would like. Um, However, they are limited to Starship Design rank 2. This has a twofold effect. First, you don't have to have Starship Design maxed out to go ahead and play with these. Second, most of the equipment that requires higher ranks of Starship Design are also level locked till later. This means that ships like these can be built and used early on, and it's more level appropriate for like the level 20 to 40 range. So this would be more of like a mid-game ship, or maybe even a little bit of an early game ship that you can then adjust into the mid-game. So let's go ahead and take a look at this ship. So this is the Taiyo Escort, which means that it's built entirely using Taiyo Astroneering parts. And you can pick up everything that you need from Taiyo Astroneering here on Neon. So you'll see that immediately coming in, we have the armory, and store any weapons that you need there. Have a small brig in case you capture anybody. We will ignore the ladder for the moment and come on back here. And you see that back here we have an all-in-one berth. So that's 4 beds and a galley. Then we have a ladder going up, and this is going into another all-in-one berth. So we've got another 4 beds and a galley. So basically, you have to come through the armory to get to the living area. Next, inside the armory, we have this ladder going up, and this is leading into a companionway, and we have our docker located right here. Now, you would think that it would go ahead and put the ladder right, or a door right here to get into the rear companionway, and if I was placing the doors myself, that's exactly what would occur. But no, no. Next, moving forward, we have a control room, and this is basically just here to increase the crew capacity of the ship. And then moving forward, here is our cockpit. Nice, simple layout, easy to use. And rather than getting out and trying to run around to Taiyo Astroneering, I'm just going to go ahead and pop into Neon Core. And yes, the game is stuttering on me. Um, with this particular save, I have not only built hundreds of ships, because that's fun, but I've also built a few extensive outposts, and basically it's just that um, once you get to a certain point in the game, it's trying to remember everything that you've done, everywhere that you've been, and that just makes the game stutter in more crowded spaces like Neon.
Tire ships are more than you won't regret your purchase.
All right, so here's the Taiyo Escort. If you want to take a closer look, you can just pause right here if you want to see the overview. And as you can see, it's basically just a long tube. It's very hard to make Taiyo ships that don't look like this. It's not impossible, but this is kind of the default that any mostly Taiyo or completely Taiyo ship is going to end up looking something along these lines. So let's go ahead and, before I delete it, grab my colors. There we go. And now delete it. All right, so starting with the habitable portions, as usual, let's go ahead and grab our landing bay. And then we are going to come on over here and we're going to grab the bottom B. This is going to be the armory. And behind it, we're going to do the bottom B, and this is going to be the all-in-one. And then at the back of the armory, we're going to go ahead and choose the top B for the companionway. On the back of that, we're going to choose the top B for the all-in-one berth. And the front of that, we are going to choose the top B, and this is going to be the control station. Next, on top of the companionway, let's go ahead and grab our docker. And then on the front, we will grab our cockpit, and it's just whatever the best cockpit that you can use is. For some reason, the Shogun Enhanced is worse than the Himeji, but requires more Starship Design. So, you just kind of ignore that and go for whatever gives you the most cargo, because the amount of mass that is increased by going up is fairly negligible. All right, there we go. That's the ship. Everything else is built around this. So let's go ahead now and grab our landing gear. The ship is using a 4 pinpoint 4G landing gear with a nice easy configuration just like this. Now let's come back here and we're going to do the reactor, grav drive, and engines. So for the reactor, if you have Starship Design to rank 2, the Spheromac DC-201 is the best Class A or Class B reactor that is available to you. You only get better Class B reactors once you have Starship Design to like 304. You can see coming down here, 28 requires Starship Design 3 for the Class B Z machine, 27 for this one, and then 31 with this, and that's rank 4. 35 with this one, 35 with this one. So these are some of the best reactors that you can use. Meanwhile, if I look at the Class B with Starship Design rank 2, I'm 21 here, 18 here, or 24 here. So let's just max our power with this. I'm just going to put this in the top slot. Underneath, I'm going to go ahead and grab my grav drive. For this ship, I do have more mass than the 927 that I can get with the Helios 300 or the R3000. So I can use either the R4000 or the Helios 400. It doesn't really matter which one I choose. However, if you wanted to, you could go ahead and reduce the amount of cargo that the ship is carrying, and if you do that, then you can use a lesser grav drive. Now, that's not the grav drive I selected. R4000. Thank you very much. All right. It's totally the game's fault, not mine. I would never misclick, right? Anyways, now, if you do not have Starship Design, then you're just going to grab the best Class A reactor and the best Class A grav drive. The usual ones for this would be like the R3000 or the Helios 300. And then for the reactors, that's going to end up being the 360T Stellarator. And you would get 20 power out of that. Now, let's go ahead and look at our engines. So for this ship, I'm using the SA4110 engines. And I just put 4 of them on. And ta-da, I'm good. Now, if I was not able to use these, then I would need to go ahead and do some finagling, and I'd probably end up running 4 White Dwarf 1020s. And I'll go ahead and show you what that would look like once I've got the rest of the ship together. Okay, I can go ahead and just copy everything and put it here. So this would then be the 360T R3000, and then to kind of fill this space, I would probably then go ahead and just grab some Taiyo nose caps and do this. Next up, fuel. Fuel is going to be the same for both of these ships. And it's just, I can go ahead and grab a pair of Titan 550 HE3 tanks. There we go. And ta-da, we are done. Next up, shields. So for the base ship, I'm using the deflector SG40, which is going to give us the most shield that we can get with a Class A ship, and only Starship Design Rank 2. Without Starship Design, SG30. Just simple copy replace. Next up, let me go ahead and just slap on, what's it called? Some more nose caps. There we go. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add cargo. Now for the base ship, I am using 8 DeGamma 1010 cargo holds. And it's just like this. Now, if you don't want to do any ship flip glitching, you can just leave this right here and call it a day. If you do want to do ship flipping or flip glitching, then I go ahead and I cover this up with the, where is it, Taiyo mid cap. And I just kind of fill in this whole little section here. Now, if I'm looking at this ship, then I can just kind of cover all this up, put my weapons on them, and I'm done. Looking at it without this, though, these engines provide less maneuvering thrust than these ones. So I don't want to have quite as much cargo on this ship. So what I'm going to do here is I'm instead going to keep those same DeGamma 1010s, because I don't need Starship Design for them, but I'm only going to put 4 on. Now, we'll get a few more changes once I finish clipping in all the mid caps, but just to get an idea of what's going on here, if I delete this, you'll see I'm around 88 mobility. Once I finish putting all the mid caps on, I was down to about 80 mobility. Over here, if I delete this, I have less cargo, and I'm nearing my jump range, but I still maintain that 100 mobility. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like after I finish clipping all this on. There we go. And then what I can do actually is I can just delete this off really quick. Cancel. Trying to select all the pieces. Copy. And there we go. All right, coming over here. And we'll just copy this down. Cancel. There we go. And then once again, I can just go ahead. All right. So now all I have left to do is go ahead and plop an equipment plate on top and add my weapons. But let's go ahead and again look at those stats. So if I delete this, you can see adding all of this dropped me from 88 mobility to 81 mobility. And I have over 1,000 mass. If I want to upgrade my mobility, I can just go ahead and delete some of these cargo holds. It's entirely up to you whether that's worth it to you or not. The way that the ship is going to perform in combat, having higher mobility is better, but as long as you have at least above, say, 70-ish, you can probably do what you need to do with this ship. Now, if I go ahead and delete this ship, you can see I'm sitting at 90 mobility. And I still have enough mass available. I've got about 21 mass. So I put an equipment plate on for 20, and then I can go ahead and just add some weapons and still be under the 927 that I need to still be able to have the 27 light year jump range. Again, if you wanted to go ahead and up your mobility, just delete cargo. The other downside of doing it this way is that these engines do require 3 power each as opposed to the Slayton 2 power each. So you can see right now we are using 17 of our power just getting all this ready. If you can go ahead and reduce the number of engines or reduce the engine power, you want to go ahead and do that. However, the only way to do that with this ship would be to cut all this out and then go to somewhere else and get 4 Ammon 3 engines. And that's going to cut your power usage by another 4. So, since this is basically the ship, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete this one entirely. I'm going to add the weapons for this one. Now, what I'm going to do is the places back here, I'm going to put on a pair of the Atlatl 280A missile launchers. And then up here, I'm going to go ahead and put 3 of the Ravager 20 MEV beams. I'd like to use the 35s, but they require Starship Design 3, and so do the PV50s. So, going with this. Now, the reason why I'm going with these and not a heavy electron beam or auto beam loadout is after I've been playing around with these lighter ships, the what's called the auto weapons are very good if you can just get up into somebody's face and just unload your entire magazine and finish off your the opponent with, basically one pass. However, these lighter ships, especially the Class A ones, do not have the durability to just fly up and start brawling. So the ideal way to engage with these is to keep your range and just shoot as much as you can from long range. The problem with that, of course, is that an auto weapon you have to shoot, and once your magazine is done, you have to wait for it to reload. And at longer ranges, your weapons are going to miss a lot. Um, and I have found playing around with that what ends up happening is you unload your weapons, you take down the shields, you do maybe a little bit of hull damage, and then by the time your magazine has reloaded, their shields have recharged. So if we go with the non-auto weapons, we can just slowly plink away from a distance, and we don't have to worry about waiting for magazine recharges or anything like that. So let me go ahead and paint the ship, and then assign my weapons. And then let's go demonstrate. Alright, so I am now in orbit. I have the anitronic fusion skill maxed out, so I do have one extra reactor power that you wouldn't have if you didn't have that skill. And now let's take this on out to Serpentis. And if you are not familiar with it, Serpentis is where you can go and you will always have enemy ships show up and you can just start engaging in a shoot fest. No other system does this. You can randomly find people, but you could go, 10 jumps or 10 different places and find nothing, whereas Serpentis, you are always guaranteed to have a space encounter. So watch this, of course, be the first time I don't have a space encounter. Alright, fine, I take you back. Where you almost always have a space encounter. Ah, I see. There's hostile activity over here, and I have to fly to the hostile activity. Alright. What I'm going to do is I'm going to maneuver in a way to keep my range. Alright. And you can see what I'm doing is just standard kiting. So I am trying to fly away from them at maximum speed, so that way they can't get too close, and then I just throw laser beams downrange. However, with a Class A ship, sometimes you end up in a position where You move away for faster than they. Ah. And of course, playing on extreme difficulty, um, sometimes it just goes badly, anyways. Did not mean to shoot my missiles. Alright. Now then, trying this again. There we go. That's one down. And then repeat for the second enemy. And again, this is why I think for these lighter ships, you don't necessarily want to do all auto weapons, because you can't go ahead and just do this. Because basically my auto weapons would run out of magazine, and then I would not be able, or by the time they finish reloading and I can start doing this again, the shields have recharged and I basically end up exactly where I was. So now that I've died once doing this, let me go ahead, check and see if they have any ship repair parts. Nope. And then I will try and see if I can get another encounter to demonstrate some more. Alright, let's go to Serpentis 1. Okay, so it looks like I have just a single opponent. Nope, two opponents. Let's get our distance. Alright, and now I should have enough distance. One of the downsides of coming to Serpentis is it's mostly Veyroon, and they tend to be heavy on the particle weaponry as well. Alright. I need to let them get a little bit closer. My optimal range is around 3K. The downside, that's also the range that they can hit me at. Alright, and with that, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it. Fighting on extreme difficulty without using max range ship skills or not ship skills, ship equipment does get very difficult. And the most advice that I can give would be to go ahead and what's it called, lower your difficulty. All right, fine. Oh, nope. Let's shoot this one up. Of course, after I say, let's stop here, I managed to start winning the engagement. All right, there we go. Now I will go ahead and leave you there. If you enjoyed watching this, thank you very much. Don't forget, hit like, comment, subscribe, do all those YouTube things, and I will see you next time.